Good morning, everyone. How are you all today? Oh, it's a bit chilly here. It's really, really quiet apart from the birds, and it's just lovely. Morning, rooks. I've been so frustrated all week because this rain has just been relentless. I don't mind the cold. Wrapped up warm. Hopefully as I get working I can lose some layers. Although I'm not sure, because obviously I'm going to be working a bit more slowly than usual. So I don't mind the cold. But the rain's just miserable. And especially at the moment while I'm still struggling with my knees a bit, I just don't want to risk falling over. Anyway, we finally got a clear day. It's pretty grey and murky out there, but it's not raining. So yay to cracking on with some jobs. So just a couple of updates before I get into the garden. Loads of you who've been asking about my knees and how the recovery is going. Thank you so much for your concern. It's really sweet. It's a bit hard to say. I kind of want to be doing somersaults and saying, yay, it's worked brilliantly. But the truth is, at the moment, it kind of feels like it did before, in so much as it's really sore to put weight through, and the whole leg, my whole knee just buckles all the time. And my right one's just the same. So at the moment, the jury is out. I remain hopeful that continuing with physio and, you know, how long is it now? 2, 3, I think it's sort of 6.5 weeks post-surgery. Maybe there's still a bit more healing to do. I don't know, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. So at the moment I'm still using a crutch when I'm out and about. At home I don't use it. On the plot I've got things to do today which I need both hands for, so I'm just gonna go for it, but go steadily. So thank you very much for asking. It's just ticking along. No great change from a couple of weeks ago, but thank you for asking. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, there's loads of things I want to mention today. Have you all received your Big Garden Birdwatch pack? Big Garden Birdwatch, yeah, from the RSPB. Do you remember I was talking at the beginning of the year about the Birdwatch weekend, 27th to the 29th of January, where you take a 1 hour window and you watch for your birds. And then, they very kindly, you've got a bit of an identification chart. If you're not, actually you're not going to be able to pick that up, are you? Can you see? So at the end of your hour, you count the highest number in any one moment that you see of a particular species. So if you see one blue tit, and then 10 minutes later you see one blue tit, and then half an hour later you see one blue tit, you don't count it as 3, because it could be the same blue tit just coming and going. If at any point you see 2 blue tits, you'd write 2. And there's also a little box at the bottom. They're also asking about wildlife as well, if we see any of those things. I haven't known them do that before, but that's really good too. I'm not going to be able to tick any of those boxes except probably the fox box. Tick 10. So I think you probably, if you haven't done it already, you probably still have time to apply for and get a pack. And what's really cute, they've sent this little calendar, fold out calendar, and for each month there's a little sort of idea of something you can do in the garden to help encourage the birds. So that's 2 weeks away? Yeah, 2 weeks away. So if you haven't already, crack on and get your pack. What else has been going on? Yeah, so before Christmas, I don't know when, a couple of weeks before Christmas, while I was laid up at home, someone came and nicked me flipping lights from outside the shed, my fairy lights, and there was like a little lantern. Now, I'm kind of not bothered about the lantern because it was just a cheap piece of rubbish that someone was throwing out. And in the meantime, I've had a gift from a very, very lovely friend to make up for it, because she knows how much I love my little sparkles for the shed. Now, you may have seen this one in other pictures. You've seen that one? I'll just show you again. You may not have noticed. This is a plain lantern she's bought, and then she sort of hand paints all the little glass panels. She's one of my old nurse friends, so it's really, really sweet and personal. This, for instance, is a little hummingbird. That's to represent me at work singing, because I was always singing at work. Used to drive my colleagues mad. I was always doing show tunes as we were trying to make drugs. But what I really love on this lantern is, can you see I've got a butterfly, a trowel and fork, and then underneath, yes, that's a bra. And that's to represent the support we gave each other. Gorgeous. That one didn't get nicked. I guess it's because it's too personal and too identifiable. So the same friend I met up with a couple of days ago, and to replace my losses, bless her, so huge, I won't be able to show you, she's hand painted another lantern for me. Crikey, it weighs a ton. Look at this beauty. Oh, look, all the panels. She's painted all these panels. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, it's massive. So I think over winter I'm going to leave that in the shed, but I think then for the summer, to sit it in the middle of the table if we're all gathered around having drinks and nibbles after a long hard session, it's beautiful. So thank you so much to my gorgeous friend Linny. Can't get over it. I mean, you know, I'm really blessed. I have some amazing friends, and we should count our blessings with our friends, because really, what is life without friends? And I think it's one of those things, isn't it? If you give your time and attention and love and support and give your warmth to someone, they give it back. So I love my friends. I love to nurture them in whatever way possible, and they completely nurture me back. I'm so happy, so lucky. Thank you, Lynn. So, anyway, on with the show. I know there's a load of you who are gagging to start sowing your seeds, and for most of us it's still a little bit early. But there are loads of things we can be doing. There are things we can be doing. Especially at this time of the year, as we go into another growing year, it's a really good time to, if you like, have a sort of a checklist for, am I ready for a whole nother year? So I thought I'd just go through some of the things that I like to go through at this time of year, and then hopefully that might trigger some of you to go, oh yeah, I've forgotten that, and remember. And there'll be things I've forgotten as well, and we'll get to April and I'll suddenly think, oh, why didn't I do that in the winter? So first things first, are you ready with all your seed trays and all your pots? Now, when I say ready, I mean, are they clean? Do you have enough? Have some of them gotten broken over time? Do you need to have a bit of a sort out, a bit of a clear out? Are some of them beyond use, beyond repair, and are therefore now just rubbish? So in the past, I've been really, really naughty about, oh, just out the corner of my eye then, there's a robin just underneath the table outside the shed. Look at you, cheeky little fella. He's hopped off now. Sorry, yeah. In the past, I've been really, really rubbish about cleaning my pots. I know, bad gardener. So, what I did last October, I took everything home to scrub. All I did was a little bit of washing up liquid and tea tree oil. Excuse me, I always get a tickle when I'm just going to get some water. Yeah, I took everything home, give it a scrub with some warm soapy water with tea tree oil in it, which acts as a disinfectant. And then, because there were so many, I actually had to put towels all over the kitchen floor to stack them on to air dry. Excuse me a sec. It's obviously well worth getting them done. I don't even need to say why. So I think this year, what I will aim to do, I mean, it took forever. Hundreds of pots, if you think about it, and the trays and the propagator lids. So I think what I'm going to aim to do this year is, as soon as I've emptied a pot, as soon as I've either potted something on or it's gone into the soil, I'm going to get that little batch of pots washed so I can wash things as I go along instead of having the great big October wash, because It was boring beyond belief. Anyway, so check through your pots. Have you got enough? If you haven't got enough, think about making paper pots. Start saving the innards from your loo rolls. Ask your neighbours to save their innards for you, and you will soon amass enough. I'm going to do a video probably by about mid-March to show you how I make my paper pots and loo roll pots and things like that once I start getting into sewing. But have a little check in your pots now. It's actually a good time of year in general to get into your shed, just get everything pulled off your shelves, out of boxes. What is actual rubbish? If it's actual rubbish and cannot be recycled and repurposed, get rid of it. If it's something you can repurpose, get on with repurposing it. What are you waiting for? Get all your pots out, make sure they're clean, get them stacked. I like to stack mine neatly by size so that I can just grab a stack of the right size, if you see what I mean. So yeah, get your pots sorted. Have a good old clear out of the shed. Whilst you're in there, check things like, I always check my little first aid supplies. I don't keep a huge amount in the shed because, you know, if someone has a really nasty whatever on the plot, it's best just to get them off to hospital. But I do keep some sterile dressings. I keep an antiseptic that's a spray type, because if someone comes to me with a nasty cut and my hands are dirty and they're dirty, I don't want to be getting cream on my finger and rubbing cream in with my dirty hands. So I've got a spray antiseptic, plasters, little bits and bobs. I keep some tweezers and some small scissors here. Tweezers, invaluable. How many of us get a bramble thorn in our finger, we pull it out, but the very end of it snaps and stays in there. Ooh. So yeah, check your first aid kit, is that up to date? And on the subject of first aid kits, it's another thing to think about this time of year is, do you need a tetanus booster shot? In this country, I don't know if it's the same everywhere, we are generally advised to have them every 10 years. I was reading a bit of research a couple of days ago, but it was a bit inconclusive, talking about that we may not need them for 30 years apart. Because it was inconclusive, I'm going to stick with 10 years. Mine's easy to remember because I sliced my finger open on my Swiss Army knife. It had a bit of brie on the end of it. Yeah, I was away. I was on a hill in France somewhere making lunch. And I just didn't want to risk anything, so I got a tetanus shot and it was in the year 2000. So for me it's easy to remember. I'm on the 10 years. Have a check through your records. If you can't remember, call your GP surgery, ask one of your lovely receptionists if they can just check back through your records, and if you're overdue, get that booked. What else at this time of year? Okay, so things like, it may be a little bit early to do, but it's to think about things like greenhouses and cold frames, the glass in them. You know, they can get pretty mucky, so it might be time to think about giving all the glass a really good clean so that as much light as possible can get through. Structures in general, have a little pad around your garden. Are there repairs that need doing? Are there things you've been putting off? Were you too busy in the height of the season last year to do things? Make yourself a little list of structural repairs that need doing. Has the shed leaked over winter? Do you need some more roofing felt? Get your list done and crack on with it now before we get into the big sowing and planting season. Tools. I'm all right with my tools in so much as the face of the tools I do tend to keep clean. I'm rubbish about the handles though. If I've got a muddy handle, it just gets stored. So it's a good time of year. Get all your tools out, give everything a really good clean. If there are moving parts like shears, just give them a drop of oil, make sure they're nice and moving freely. I could do with a drop of oil in my knees. Please don't anyone mention cod liver oil because I'm vegetarian. Actually, with the tools, it's a trick my granddad used to have, which I think I need to replicate. I'm sure loads of you are familiar with this, but he used to have a bucket just inside the shed door full of sand and old oil. It was probably motor oil, probably from when he changed the oil in the car engine. So I got an itchy snozzle. Anyway, so a bucket of sand and oil, and then after he'd finished with his tools, he'd give them, you know, a clean with a rag or whatever, get the worst of any surface dirt off, and then he'd shove them in this bucket of sand and oil. And the sand, I think the theory was, the sand would help to keep the edges sharp, and the oil would give them a bit of protection against rust. Yeah, I think I should make like my granddad and get some sand and oil from somewhere and do that. What else can we think about doing at this time of year? I mean, that is kind of it. I think it's that thing of just, it's that, so I'm really distracted by the birds. Yeah, it's definitely a time of year for having a bit of a spring clean, even though it's not spring. But by the time it is spring, we'll be too busy in the garden to do our spring clean. Just go for it. Just say to yourself one weekend, right, I am going to face the mess that is my shed once and for all. I'm going to be ruthless. If it's rubbish, it's going. If it's reusable, but I'm not going to reuse it, give it to a friend. If I'm going to repurpose it, well, I'm going to repurpose it now instead of it sitting in the corner of the shed gathering cobwebs and goodness knows what else. Obviously, part of the checklist at this time of year is to just things like, have you finished your seed orders? Have you got everything you want? If you need to order in any sort of manures or fertilisers, hopefully at this time of year there might be some good offers around, because this is the big push for those sellers to try and shift volume of so I'm knocking stuff flying, to shift volumes of stuff, so you might get sort of a 3 for 2 offers. So have a think about how much you're going to need for the year and try and grab a bargain now. I've got loads of bits to do in the garden today, including getting up all my sticks and poles. That's another thing. Have a little look at your sticks and poles. Were you short on them last year? Do you need some more? What you could try and do instead of going out and buying them is use this time of year to see if you can forage for some. So keep your eye out in skips. If, like on my site, there's a burn pile where people chuck their branchy stuff, have a little look through the burn pile. Are there things which you can rescue? You might have to, you know, take some side branches off or whatever, but can you find some poles for free? We're just thinking ahead. Basically what we're doing is we're just trying to use up our time before we can start sowing seeds. It's a kind of way of distracting ourselves from wanting to start too early. But seriously, there's loads to do. I've got quite a bit to do in the garden today. I was looking at my calendar for the next sort of up to the end of March, which is when I really start to push in the garden, and I realised I've actually got loads of stuff coming up before the end of March which is non-gardening, and I suddenly realised, eek, I don't have as many days free for the garden as I thought, so I need to get a bit of a wriggle on. Right, enough chat from me. I need to go and do some work. I hope you're all, I don't know why I've got an itchy nose. Is that a sign that I'm going to, you know, have a bountiful year? Oh, stop it. Yeah, I hope you feel inspired to get into your sheds or your outhouses or whatever it is and have a clear. You may find some hidden treasure you'd forgotten about. Get yourself clean and prepped and ready for this year. Keep yourself distracted from wanting to sow seeds. Because like I say, for most of us it's far too early. If you don't have a greenhouse, if you don't have heated propagators, it's too early for most things. Find something to distract yourself with, you seed addicts, you. I know, I speak as one myself. Okay, well, I'm going to say cheerio for now. Stay well, everyone. Have fun distracting yourselves. Don't forget to apply for the Great Garden Birdwatch pack if you're in the UK, because there's still time. And we can all compare notes after that weekend. That'll be really fun, actually. We'll definitely compare notes that weekend. So yeah, nothing more for me to say. I need to go and start doing. So until I see you all again, which I hope will be really soon, take care, everyone. Stay warm.